so you guys, we are back with another spotlight of success with one of the women who has been part of the Frugal Feminista community for a while. And you guys, you don't know how excited I am to be able to share this story, because it's great to hear information and motivation from me, but it's better and even more inspiring and more motivating when you hear it from women that look just like you and look like me that are in the community. So without further ado, I want to introduce Jarienn James to our spotlight so we can give her her shine and let us know more about her story. So Jarienn, can you introduce yourself?
Hi everyone. So I'm Jarienn James. I'm 31. I don't mind saying my age. I'm basically a young attorney who is now on the path to developing herself professionally and building a career. I work as I'm on a non-traditional path, so I'm not in court litigating cases. I am working at a school as a law and justice program coordinator, where I can work on various aspects involving the law.
Wonderful. And so, how did you step into the world of personal finance and wanting to get your personal finances to the next level?
Law school. Yes, they're synonymous. Yeah, when you start law school, you'd kind of go in knowing that there will be some amount of debt, and you really want to have a plan, some sort of strategy to stay on top of it, because if you don't, it could be severely depressing. So, my journey with wanting to save and have a better idea of handling money started from there.
I hear you. I hear you.
Yeah.
So I'm hearing six-figure debt. That's
No,
what I'm hearing.
yes, yes, yes.
Exactly. So it makes sense that along the way that getting your personal finances would be a high priority. And one of the things, the ways that we met was that you took my Heal Your Relationship with Money course. And so we want to know, from knowing the financial burdens of law school and then getting to a place of heal your relationship with money and you being a student in it, what was the relationship between those two financial circumstances?
Right. So I was introduced to you through the Healing Your Relationship with Money course, and then I took the Sally Mae course, Slay Sally Mae or whatever, but you
Mm-hmm.
get the title right.
Right.
Um, that program, with the Healing Your Relationship, you wanted me to share my takeaways.
Yeah. What are your takeaways?
Yeah. So healing my relationship. I mean, like, first of all, I think I had a fear of handling money. I just didn't want to deal with it. I never really wanted to walk around with cash or anything of the sort. I had to look back and reflect on where that fear was coming from. And I think, growing up in a Caribbean home, you're kind of just never really in charge a lot of times with the money. You simply just go and ask your parents, like, Mom and Daddy, I need this or something. And then way later, you might get an allowance or something. But there was never really that um, independent handling of money from a very early age. It's always like, Mommy, Daddy, could I have this? At least that was my experience. So I avoided it. And I was glad that after a while that I didn't have to handle the money, because I also saw the effects of what it is for how people have to stretch money or make things work. And I think I just didn't want to deal with that calculating. I guess I didn't want to grow up. Yeah.
Interesting.
So when I took your course about healing my relationship with money, it forced me to really delve into those feelings and take ownership. Um, and then also that whole thing about, not letting your debt define you. Like, you're not what is wrong with you financially per se. You're more than that, and you can conquer it. And then another thing that really opened up my mind, a lot of times we go into debt or we have debt and we think like, oh, this is a mortgage, it has to stay with me forever. But my mind was opened up to understanding that it doesn't have to be something that is with me for years. There are steps that I can take to reduce those years, and I can live even while being in debt. And it's just a matter of prioritizing what is important to me and how important it is.
I love it. And so with this course, like, were how did your fear or your levels of fear shift?
It forced me to confront it. Like, the only way to get rid of fear is to face it. And you ask specific questions in the course, like, what is my relationship? Is it like a half glass, half full, half empty approach? What was it? So you ask some really specific questions that forced you to confront it and not just delve with it on the surface, but even to think back to when it may have started. So I think it was the pointed questions that you asked in the course that helped me.
Wonderful. So, like, moving forward, how do you think your relationship with money will impact how you handle and manage and grow your money in the future?
Oh, I mean, like I already started. Now I'm far more aggressive with how I am handling my money. I track my money even more now. Like before, there was a fear of like looking the account because what are you going to see?
Mm-hmm.
But now it's okay for me to look, not because I can actually see money inside, but because I know that I created like a budget, and I know I have an expectation of what I am supposed to see when I'm supposed to see it, because I have a budget that is streaming everything. This will come out at this point, so I should have this left or whatever. So there's no longer a fear to look at my account. I know what it is. Some days it's good, some days it's bad, but I know. And I think
Exactly.
that's one thing that really helped me.
Wonderful. And so another part of your journey was the law school again, but now taking the course called 60 Days to Slay Sally Mae.
Right.
And that has been another part of you developing your financial confidence and just really up leveling your whole approach to handling money. So, what were some of your wins after having taken that course?
Well, first of all, even though we dealt with like the playing Sally Mae stuff, we could use the same principles for like credit card debt and so on. So it's like it forced you to like really look at all of your debt. So I looked at my credit card debt, and because the objective was to look at all your debt and see how much more you could be contributing to your paying off of the student loans. So I recognized that I had credit card debt that really didn't need to be there. Um, so I started to be a little bit more aggressive, and then you talked to us about like the snowball effect, etc., and just trying to delve into that and working on it. So then like eventually I was able to get rid of my credit card debt.
How
And then
much debt was that?
that's a very good question, and I'm not being evasive,
Right.
but part of how I was able to cope is by forgetting.
Mm,
And that does not only apply to me for finances, it also happens with traumatic experiences. I
wow.
tend to block it out. I mean,
Mm,
I've coped so far doing this, and don't worry, I've spoken to people, gotten
mhm.
counseling, whatever, but it's also part of who I am. Um, but I know for sure at one point it may have been like $3,000 in debt, but that could have been like one card. And then like it when you're in credit card debt, if we're being honest, it's never just one card, or never is it just like, okay, I paid it off and it's gone for good. It could be a cycle. You pay it off, and then all of a sudden you're back raised, it's back up again. And the reason why that happens is because you're still not dealing with the underlying issue as to why you're spending. Some people spend because that's all they have as income, especially like for instance in this pandemic, people don't have an additional income, and it's their credit cards that they're relying on. um so part of me had to look at the credit card debt, like, I mean, and I recognize that too. I would pay it off, and then all of a sudden it's just back up again. And I had to really delve into myself and to ask, why am I spending all of this money again, and dealing with the root of it. Sometimes it was just comfort, boredom, just because you're seeing and you're really having to slow down and say like, I do not really need this is just a reaction. And because most of the people taking this course will be women, I've spoken to other friends as well. um they seem to have it too, but something is linked to when your menstrual cycle is starting. You tend to just spend more for some reason. So those are just some things that I noticed and I became aware of with myself and tried to work on it. Um, so that was the credit card. So I looked at the credit card, that tried to eliminate it bit by bit, and then I was able to, like, make the student loan my focus. And as much as it tempted me from time to time to like just go into forbearance, take a break, because I had a goal that I will not be paying this debt forever. um, I kept paying the payments and just keeping up with it. And then you spoke about things like refinancing, and I was like, oh, I could refinance this loan. I don't have to stay with this company, even though I had a fixed rate and it is perceivably low. I could refinance. So those are some of the things that it was just a whole matter of changing the psyche. And then you had this thing about your fight song. So my song was "I Will Win" by you will win by Jacqueline Carr. So you keep playing that song and you just get into your mode, because I don't know, when you grow up in a Christian home too, you're always spoken to about vision. So because you were able to help me deal with my fears, change my psyche, I was able to recreate a new vision. And then once
Mm.
I have the vision, I can run with it. So that's where it started. And because I didn't have the fear anymore or the shame, I was able to start speaking to my friends about, like, hey, what's happening with your finances? What's your salary like? And really asking pointed questions. And then there is also a portion in the program where you talk about, like, negotiations. That negotiations piece, excuse my colloquial language, but it was lit. No, it was really good because you gave, like, again, some really pointed things that you can take away. And never accepting the first thing that is being offered to you when you operate because, like, in previous positions, I saw myself as a person, like, just glad to get a job and begging for this position. Technically you are, especially when you're out of law school and a large pool, but you don't have to be that way in negotiations. There's nothing wrong, and I had to learn that. You taught me that there is nothing wrong with asking for a little more. And even if you ask for a little more and they say no, do you have any more benefits that you can get from the program? And then what I also do based on this program is that I started to track all the different things that I'm doing at the office, things that went well and so on, so that whenever I'm ready to ask for a salary increase, I have a list there. And I would not have thought about some of these things if I didn't attend the course. And just me being here and being able to speak with you about all of this is something that I would not have done before the course, because it would have been too much fear and shame for me to talk about it. But understanding, you put it into us that it is a journey. Nothing happens automatically, and every phase, no matter what happens, you can see a little bit of success.
I love it. 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 So for those of us, like, so what tips, like, in healing your relationship with money, what tips would you give to someone that's like, what's that? What do I need a relationship with money for? Was that kind of woo woo kind of stuff? Us Black women don't talk about that woo woo, especially if we're Caribbean. What are the things that you would say about the relationship with money, and some next steps and some first steps?
um some tips that you are on your own path. It Nothing is wrong with having too much money. It's how you handle it and how you see it. For instance, I've had a phase, or I think I'm still in a phase, but where because I'm now starting out in my career, I'm living almost paycheck to paycheck. And how I am is that I've told myself, get comfortable living like this, because whatever more comes, you can easily put that towards saving. And then you also said live off of 75% income and so on. So for me, whatever little comes before me, I will put that aside to saving as well. And then, if I have extra, then I'm going to live off of it. So it's beginning to, I think so. One of the first tips, what I'm trying to say is don't be afraid to assess who you are, admit it, face it, create a plan, talk to people, get the guidance, and once you have it out there in black and white, it's easier to run with rather than just having numbers floating around in your head. And even though you might feel that you have so much debt or it's just so impossible. People are talking to you about saving and there's nothing for you to save. Understand that this is just going to be something temporary and you're not defined by your wealth. I mean, the society makes it seem that way, but you yourself are a woman who has so much to offer the world that there's so much more to you than the money. So once you see yourself as this great person who has a particular purpose to fulfill, I believe that, the money will come. And once you have a plan, you'll be able to walk in it confidently and correctly.
I love it. I love it. And so for those of us too, like in closing with huge student loan debt, what are some tips that you want them to leave with that can give them some comfort and also some tactical steps to chipping away at it?
Well, for those, I mean, I had private loans, which is the worst. But what I was able to do was get a fixed rate. For those of you who have federal loans, make sure that you're tracking everything and you have all the documents, because not because you have federal loans it means that you automatically get this 10-year, you work for 10 years and then it disappears. You have to show a lot of documents in the end in order to get this waiver.
Loan forgiveness, yeah.
Loan forgiveness, correct. um, for people with private loans who just feel like it'll be there forever, you won't be where you are forever. The world is always changing. You're always changing. You're not only changing, you're evolving. And if you make up your mind to whatever extra you get to put towards student loans, it could disappear much faster. And you should really look into refinancing because there are like a lot of companies out there. I mean, for instance, like my credit score is good because I took those steps before to do like the credit card stuff and whatever, and everything just started to, my score went up. Um, so now I'm getting offers in the mail to refinance with this company and that company or whatever. So just
That's great.
trust yourself.
Right. So what I hear in closing is that when you do one thing, it begins to snowball. So now
Mm-hmm.
that your score is higher, then you have offers for even better refinancing
Yep.
opportunities. So you're in a better position to negotiate. And then when you're feeling good about yourself, you're more than likely to ask for more money at work. You know what I mean? It just kind of, you're feeling yourself, you have your fight song, and you're beginning to see that this temporary situation of maybe not being where you want to be is a function of knowledge or lack of knowledge and lack of movement. But once you move towards it and continue to invest in yourself by getting the support that you need, you'll be able to see that vision for yourself. And I just feel so excited to hear this because sometimes as like a teacher, you produce these things and it goes out into the world and you work, of course, with my clients one-on-one, but to be able to sit here and hear for like 30 minutes their story is just so invigorating. And I just want to thank you so much for being able to share your story with us. And this is just the newest chapter because there's going to be more chapters to be written. So when you get to the final vision that you have for yourself, I want you to come back and share what it looks like. Okay.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Carol, and I really appreciate what you're doing for the world. I really wish you all the best, and I hope that everybody really takes in all your tips and applies it. They're
Oh,
good tips.
well, thank you so much. Thank you so much. So, um, for those of you that are listening, you definitely, if you finances are a part of your why and why you want to move forward, and you know that your relationship with money is a place where you can grow, then just like me, just like everyone in the community, you are the author of your money story and you have the power to rewrite it. And Don't take my word for it. Take the word of Jarienn here, who is sharing her story and just being a boss about it. And so I can't wait to share our next success story, and hopefully that'll be you. All right. So if you have any questions, definitely hit me up at Kara at the Frugal Feminista with questions about any of the courses or the coaching, or you can go to the site, the Frugal Feminista, to see what the current courses and offerings are. Okay. So until our next success story, bye.